Hi everyone and welcome to Cooking with Lilia. In this recipe we're making a delicious tres leches cake, but it's a little different in that it's tiramisu flavored. So if you like both desserts, you're going to really love this because it has multiple layers of creaminess, it's slightly sweet, and it has that perfect touch of coffee that we all love in that tiramisu. So I've got the nutrition facts on this video so you can indulge as much as you please. And if you haven't subscribed, please do so down below so you don't miss out on any of these tasty recipes. Going to separate my egg whites from the yolk. Try to get as much egg white as you can, and occasionally you'll have yolk that goes in. Try to avoid that. We're going to start off by beating our egg yolks, and then we'll gradually add in our sugar. Make sure you're beating your egg yolks on low, and then as time progresses, go ahead and put it on high. And we're going to beat these eggs for about 7 to 10 minutes, really until all these egg yolks turn a light yellow. I'm going to add the remaining sugar. Half of your sugar for this recipe is used for your egg whites, and then the other half is used for your egg yolks. That way it ensures that both of them have even flavors. Now we're moving on to our egg whites. And the same with the egg whites, start on low and gradually work your way up to high speed when the egg whites are starting to get nice and frothy, kind of like a little cloud. All right, once these are nice and fluffy, I'm going to add just a little bit of cream of tartar. This is optional, but I like my egg to be extra fluffy. So I'm going to add this at this point. And by working your blender or any kind of tool to get this egg whites to fluff, if you start out on low and gradually work your way up, it also helps the egg not to flatten down and stay very fluffy. We want to fluff both the egg whites and the yolks separately so your cake just turns out nice, like a nice sponge cake. You don't want this to be a very compact cake. It took about 15 minutes to get it to fluff up like this. Once your egg whites have reached this point that I was talking to you about earlier, you'll see peaks through them. It looks like one big cloud, and it doesn't easily flip. If you turn it, it doesn't easily slip out. So at this point, I'm going to sift my flour, and then we'll combine all of these ingredients together. As far as sifting my flour, you want to sift it about 2 to 3 times because you want your flour to be really soft and not so compact. We want this cake to really be a nice spongy cake. I'm gonna add my flour to my sifter plus some baking powder, and I do part of it, and then I'll do the rest for the other half. Now we're going to fold in our egg yolks with our egg whites. We do a little bit at a time. We're folding these in carefully because we don't want this cake to flatten down. Just make sure, don't stir this, just fold it in like this. See, and that cream of tartar that I mentioned earlier really helps with these egg whites staying up. Okay, now that my eggs are the egg yolks and whites are well combined, I'm going to slowly add in my flour in. just a bit at a time. And I do the same, continue to fold. And you do that until you get rid of all your flour. Going to combine a vanilla and milk together. And this is stir. And we can pour this in now. So I've gone ahead and greased my spring fork pan with coconut oil. You can use butter if you prefer that. Now we're going to add in our batter. Could smooth it out a little bit, but don't tap your bread or your cake against the table to flatten it out. Just use a spoon. Now you'll need to go ahead and preheat your oven to 400 degrees to get very hot before this goes in. And then we'll bake this at 325 degrees for about 45 minutes to an hour. You'll just really want to keep an eye on this. Insert any kind of like fork or toothpick to make sure it's well done. So I'm going to let this cool off a little bit longer. Now that this has cooled off completely, I'm going to cut it in half. And I want my cake to be nice and flat, so I'm going to cut up this little dome piece. See, what I'm going to do is have this as my top layer and this bottom. So I don't want it to start moving, jiggling around. And if you want more layers, if you want this to be a taller cake, you would just double the recipe for this cake. And now we let this completely cool off. I don't know if you saw that steam. If you have a wire rack, they'll be even better. So look at these two beautiful pieces. So I'm gonna leave this here on the counter to go ahead and cool off. And in the meantime, we're going to make the frosting that will go in to both of these layers. To my instant dark roast coffee, I'm going to add my water to dissolve this. If you don't have this, you can use just regular espresso or coffee. The amount of coffee depends on how strong you normally drink your coffee. That's how strong you would make it for your cake. And I'm gonna add the remaining water. And this is hot water, by the way. And once this is all dissolved, we're going to add it, looks like it's about right. Going to add it to my milk mixture here, which I've got evaporated milk and whole milk. And this is what we're going to soak our bread in. For the filling, I've got some almond extract. It's kind of up to you if you want to use that, but I think it gives it a really nice flavor. And I'm using a low-fat cream cheese here. Traditionally for tiramisu, you use a mascarpone. If you can find that, use that. It's really delicious. And we're also going to add sweetened condensed milk instead of sugar. I think it gives it just a creamier, milky kind of flavor. To this, we're going to add our heavy whipping cream. All right, now that we've gotten this nice creamy consistency, we're going to refrigerate this for 30 minutes to an hour. We want it to be a little bit stiff before we add it to our cakes. All right, now we're to that same pan that we cooked our cake in. We're going to add this plastic wrap. So you're going to do it on one side. And this is cold off, by the way. So make sure that every side is covered. Kind of push it down. We'll add another piece overlapping this other way. Okay. We're doing this so the liquids don't fall out. The milk coffee mixture that we made earlier, and also so it's just a tiny bit easier to pull out. All right, once it's all covered with that, we're going to add that creamy mixture that we made earlier, that we had refrigerated. We're going to add this to the bottom. There you go. You'll want to add your nicest layer to the bottom. The reason I say that is because when we flip this cake over, the bottom piece will end up being on the top. So because this is my nicest, flattest side, I'm going to add that down below. All right. Now to this, we're going to add that coffee mixture we made earlier. By the way, I'm making a non-alcoholic version. If you want to, you can add a little bit of like cognac or brandy or Kahlua if you want to, just to spike it up a tiny bit. It tastes really great, but you don't have to add it. What I'm going to do is go through all the edges and soak my bread in this. We repeat the same process again. Now for the last layer. So I'm going ahead and folding all of the plastic in. If you need any additional to cover it, just make sure to do so. All right, so this is now nicely wrapped up. And I'm going to refrigerate this overnight because that is when the cake best absorbs all the flavors. If you are in a hurry, you can refrigerate this up to 4 hours. As far as the garnishings, I'm going to add some chocolate covered coffee beans, some cacao powder. You can use even fruit, mint leaves, whatever you would like. I hope you enjoyed this recipe, and I'd like to hear your comments if you make this, what you think about it, any improvements, or how it turned out for you. I hope you don't forget to subscribe down below. It helps me out. And thank you, and I'll see you in the next recipe.